Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Shama Ashram in Cali, Colombia, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show and welcome to Tubing Day. Today, we're going to get in a tube, get on those witch trains, and go tubing down a river in the jungle. I'm looking forward to it. And Kaustubha's not coming for some reason. Kaustubha's got dental work to do.
Dental work. You gotta go to the dentist.
Did I break confidentiality by sharing that?
I don't mind.
Do you mind if I share about your dental issue?
Not at all.
Issues?
I don't have a particular big issue or anything. It's not like
You don't have any dental issues?
Well,
People
I
have been talking
some,
about your
some level of
issues.
issue I got, but nothing too serious. Not like the
Good.
last time I was down here.
Yeah.
That was more serious work to do.
Can you close those doors? Thanks. Bhakti Sophia was the one who made the garlands for my deities. Thank you,
remember that?
Yeah, thank you, Bhakti Sophia.
In Vila Vrindavan.
I'm just looking at the Zoom board. We have a bunch of people here on Zoom, and you too. If you're one of those others out there that we don't even know you're there, you can join us live at Zoom. Email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And if you are new to the gig, new to the show, welcome aboard. And we do this every day. You can just people, what people are doing. I'm just getting a lot of letters from people. They've just been binge listening to the show. It's fun. You go for a long drive, you binge listen to the Bhagavatam. Makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even the stuff when it gets dark, like the Bhagavatam's got some dark stuff. That's where we're at right now. Heads getting
rolling.
cut off. You know what I mean? Decapitation. It happens.
Xenotransplantation.
But yeah, but the decapitation is followed by xenotransplantation. So like there's a happy end.
Yeah.
Happy ending. Except for the guy with the goat head.
Yeah, it's all happy. How happy would you be with a goat
Well,
head?
he is happy. You're going to see. Because Lord Vishnu is it's going to happen today. He's going to be doing. Imagine, Raghunath, if you sat down and started chanting your mantras and suddenly, like Lord Vishnu on a beautiful, huge bird just started floating down and he had a beautiful smile. You'd be happy even if you had a goat's head.
You know what? I probably would be, for sure. But every now and then I just walk by the mirror, look at the mirror and be like, oh, man, I ain't got a goat's head. I do that with my regular head. I look in the mirror, it's like, oh, man, this ain't getting any better. Imagine if every time I walk by, I got some goat.
No.
And
But your heart
you,
would be so full of love that it wouldn't matter.
You know what? I will say goats are my least favorite of the farm animals.
Really?
You see now, Where's the Samadarshana? Where's the equal vision, Raghunath? Come on. There's a soul in that goat. That's a pure.
There is a soul, but I'm just saying they're the least of the favorite of the farm animals.
Well,
I respect them as a soul, but I don't like how they behave in their body. And they look a little evil.
It's a behavior.
They look a little evil with those slit eyes.
Maybe it's just because you've been conditioned to think that that's evil that you bear this prejudice. And that's all I'm going to say.
Perhaps I'm a speciesist.
That's right. Apparently you are. All right. But anyway, we're going to see. He's going to be happy. You're going to see today. He's actually he's in ecstasy. Even with the goat head. Well, which is a clue to life.
Yeah. We had a great show yesterday with our death doulas. With Kelly Skinner. Are you ready for a little nugget?
Is it a death doula nugget?
Well, it's a Native American nugget.
Is it a Native American death doula nugget?
It's a Native American death doula nugget, actually.
Okay.
Because they're Native American. It's Native American wisdom, about death.
Okay.
Because death is something we talk about. It's part of life. You really want to live, you got to understand death. Quote me on that one. That's a good one.
Okay.
Raghunath. Like when people on Instagram quote themselves.
Raghunath, death doula nugget.
Read
Number
that
one.
again. I hate read that again.
Why? We have to read some things again.
I know, but when the Instagram person is trying to
Okay, that's
pose as Socrates and says,
Gotcha.
read that again.
Read
Oh,
it.
yes, master, I will.
Okay. We'll read this for at least once. Hit it.
Okay, listen to this one. This is from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right because I'm not good in my Native American.
Pronunciation.
Chief Opamut.
Mhm.
He was a Mohican
Okay.
from 1725, not that long ago. When it comes time to die,
It's relative, I suppose.
it is relative, but yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death. So when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over and over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home.
We've seen
Right?
that, haven't we?
We've seen it. People die in these very noble ways.
Singing their
Singing
death
the
song.
Maha Mantra or chanting or in complete peace. Anna Ciro told her story last week on the near-death experience.
Yeah, she was in
Show.
a state of peace.
The state of peace.
But I guess we have to wonder, okay, that sounds nice, right? When I want to die, I don't want to be clinging, and it's really, I don't know if embarrassing is the word I'm looking for, but like sad, right? That we're not ready to accept the inevitable, that I'm dying and I'm desperately trying to hold on to life, which is no longer possible. But what will it take in our life so that we could die this way?
Right. It's not like a shift at the time of death.
Yeah.
You ever heard this story? There's a good story. I'm going to tell you a brief little story.
Hmm.
There was three spiritual kids, and their father was incredibly materialistic. He was like a cloth merchant, like in India. A cloth merchant is one who sells clothing and dhotis and saris. So he was a cloth merchant, and they were saying, "Father, you're so materialistic. You're getting older. You got to get more into your spiritual life." So he said, "Okay, well, what do you recommend?" He goes, "Well, you should go to visit some holy place." So we brought him to Haridwar, where the Ganges is flowing. It's the gateway to the Himalayas. And he just didn't have a good time, didn't get it. And he's like, well, what's wrong with that? He didn't like Haridwar? No, he didn't like Haridwar. You should bring him to South India. Bring him to Sri Rangam. Brought him to Sri Rangam, went there. And the father's like, nah, I don't get it.
Famous temple of Balaji there? Or not Balaji, of
no, it's
of, Ranganath.
Venkateshwar.
No, Venkateshwar is Balaji, but Ranganath is Lord Vishnu.
Ranganath. He wasn't interested in there. They was hoping like maybe he'd get some inspiration. He's an old man. He could die at any time. So they brought him to Varanasi.
Okay.
Right. And Varanasi is famous for the worship of Mahadev. It's right on the bank of the Ganga. They say it's an ancient city, one of the oldest cities of time. And it's also famous for the burning gods. And sometimes when you see it,
activity.
right? And sometimes when you see a burning god, you start to wake up. Burning god is where they burn the bodies. And he's looking at the bodies getting burnt. Oh, have you ever seen a body burn, Kaustubha?
I have.
Have you?
Yes.
Me too. It's a whole thing, man.
Well,
And then-
I
and they-
once saw a fascinating
Don't squirrel my
video.
squirrel
No,
here.
no, it's right on. I once saw.
Don't squirrel my squirrel, man. All right, go on.
I once saw a video a very interesting video about Varanasi, and it was showing the bodies burning, and it had one. I guess I don't know. It was some Brahmana. I don't know if it was a Brahmana who does the death rites or a priest from one of the temples or something. But he said, "Burning is learning." Right? You go there, you watch the
All right,
bodies die.
Mara's writing that down.
Burning
right now.
is learning.
Burning is learning. Kaustubha. Say it again.
No, it wasn't me. I can't take credit for that one.
Read that
yeah,
again.
They call, there's actually a phrase, I don't know if it's a Hindi phrase, about the realizations that come at the burning ghat, right? That like you walk away from there a bit sobered up about life, right? Watching you're seeing that's a body just like my body. My body's going to burn just like that one.
Well, that's where I'm going with this story here.
Okay.
So it's the guy is watching these bodies burn, and then more people, these guys come in with more and more wood, poured them on, and then they bring another body on. It's happening all day long. Another guy comes with more wood, and the father is like standing there like in trance, and the kids who are watching, they're like, "This is affecting Dad.
It's working.
It's working. Dad. It's working. It's working." Bringing more wood in, more all day. They're bringing wood in. They're putting bodies on this, and he's like, "Father, what have you realized?" He goes, "I finally got a realization." He said, and all the kids are relieved. "What's your realization, Father?" He said, clothing. I spent my life exhausted in this clothing business, but I should have been in the wood business, man. We could have made a lot of money selling wood.
Right.
So the idea is that you can't just at the time of death say, "I'm going to get spiritual when I die. I'll figure it out when I die." No, it's a whole lifetime of preparation. That doesn't mean if you're like you're 50 years old, my age or something, and I'm 56 actually, but 56 years old, and then you get into spiritual life, you can't be like, "Well, it's old. I'm old now. I'm not going to get into it." No. Whenever you get into it, but you have to practice it on a regular basis. Don't expect at the time of death you're going to automatically be spiritual. It's something we build towards. What we're meditating on today, this is what we're going to meditate on the time of death, most likely. So let's keep our meditation. We're refining our meditative mind every day. And that's what a sadhana is. It's practicing to meditate on Lord Vishnu. Why? Because my material mind is meditating on everything. It's meditating on collecting stuff, on the opposite sex or same sex, on various types of adventure I want to do in the material world. There's tons of meditations going on already. So we have to refine our meditation, draw it in, bring it back under the control of the self. We don't need to go out there to find our joy. Our joy is here, as I say before I go tubing. I just defeated my whole argument there.
I have a question for you.
Doing it for Merrick. She wasn't feeling because she missed the first tubing event.
Oh, yeah.
Go on, Prabhu.
So he says, "Sing your death song and die like a hero going home." What do you think he meant by that "sing your death song"?
The Maha Mantra?
I don't think he meant that.
I don't know I don't think he knew the Maha Mantra, but I don't know what his death song was. I think it's just a figure of speech.
Referring to?
Just, being proud and loud of what you are, maybe.
You're proud and loud of what you are.
Proud and loud.
I mean, in one sense, just being old, in one sense, demands respect. You're right. It commands respect.
Sometimes old people act in a horrible way. But yes.
I think really you're ready to share wisdom with people, like, in other words, maybe singing your death song has to do with being able to share what you gained about life before you go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I got to feel like being around you at the time of death, you're going to have dropping bombs of wisdom on everybody. Tell me more, Kaustubha.
I'm going to be like, just squirt me with your holy water.
With your Gunga spray bottle of love. That's what I was going to tell Kelly yesterday. I can help her. I can help her with her death doula-ship. Yeah. You get a holster with a spray gun of Gunga water.
We've got to design that, the death doula utility belt.
It's like Tulsi, various Tulsi malas, incense, prasadam flower garlands, Harinam shutters. Is that what they do? Okay, Damodar Priya's got some insight too.
Okay.
All right. Can I give you another Native American nug?
Yeah, if it's a death doula one, I'll
it
take
is.
It. Okay.
This is from the Cherokee. It's given credit. I don't know who said this, but the whole Cherokee nation is given credit for saying this. At least on Google search memes
Pinterest.
on Pinterest. Like it says like Cherokee. That's like signed by the entire Cherokee nation. That's like you see that's
Just read the nugget.
Yeah, read
no,
it,
but I'm just
Rugger.
saying,
Wherever you're
that's like
going, I don't
saying
want to go there.
a stitch in time saves 9. The
America.
USA. The USA.
Well, it could mean it's an American wisdom quote. So this is a Cherokee one.
When you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that you will die.
No.
That when you die, the world cries and you rejoice.
I like that.
I like that. I like the first
Read that
one better.
again.
Read that again. I'll read it again if you're not telling me to read it again.
Please read it
When
again.
you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice.
That's a good observation. Yeah.
Signed, the entire Cherokee nation.
I like it. Okay, let's move on, Raghunath.
Oh, man.
Keep it moving, man.
Squirreled my squirrel. That was
keep
funny.
it moving.
Squirreled my squirrel.
Are there any announcements today, Mara?
Bhakti recovery group meeting at noon today.
Going to Nepal in March. I'm going to push that Nepal trip because we got a crew. And Vicky's coming. Vicky from Cyprus is going. I see her smiling right now. She's got a little walking stick.
Nice.
Come join me. We're going to see the Himalayas. It's quite magnificent. We're going to hear and chant and eat wonderful vegetarian food. And we're going to see a burning god at Pashupatinath. That is an amazing place. That's where Raghunath Swami's book starts, you know? He's trying to get to see the deity. He smears all the ashes on his body and they let him in. Remember that part of the book?
I remember that. It's right at the
Like
beginning.
the intro. Yeah. So that's in
Lloyd
Kathmandu.
Pag says that Varanasi is a powerful place, life-changing to see the burning gods.
It is life-changing. I mean, just to see a dead body is pretty... You squirreled my Nepal trip. You know that, right? Just jumped in there.
Yeah, I thought
How
you
do
were
people
wrapped
sign
it
up?
up.
How do people... I didn't wrap it up. People sign up. You go to www.raghunath.yoga. Go to Nepal trip. It's in March. All right. Yeah, it is. It is life-changing. Once you throw a body on fire, then you start to think different about life.
Except for that one guy.
Yeah, it didn't change him. It just drew out his material life. All right, let's get on. Let's get on with the show, Babu.
Yeah.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Don't you love when Raghunath Swami does that and sort of changes you up?
How so?
You know what I'm talking about?
He says
When you're
it
sitting in
different way.
class and he just goes, Om, and you're like, oh, we're going to say Om. And he goes, Om again, on this. And you're like, what? What just happened? I thought we were all chanting Om. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, I always assume he's going to go into Om Gyana.
I know, but if you're like from a yoga class or something,
Okay.
you're like, oh, he's just chanting Om. Okay, this is cool. Like, I like Om. Om is good. Om is non-denominational. It's like psych. Like if he could say psych, if he would ever say the word psych, it'd be right there. Oh, psych. Om Gyana Timaranda Shakyananjana Salakya.
Last second squirrel. Let us move on.
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 12.
Psych. Psych is a great word. I wonder if there's
Okay.
a modern, what kids are saying now. For
Text
psych.
12.
Text 12. At this time, King Daksha, afflicted by love and affection. I don't think Raghunath Swami's ever said psych. Maybe he's ever his entire life. At this time, King Daksha, afflicted by love and affection, was very much awakened to his real senses. With great endeavor, he pacified his mind, checked his feelings, and with pure consciousness began to offer prayers to Shiva. So this is the famous painting.
Yeah.
The famous painting of the goat-headed Daksha wearing like a pilgrim suit. If I remember it correctly, he's got like high socks on and some type of outfit, buckled boots. I think so. I think it's like a pilgrim suit. No hat, no pilgrim hat. King Daksha said, "My dear Lord Shiva, here's a
Hold
prayer.
it.
Ready?
Let's talk about this verse a little bit. This is beautiful, right? You mentioned he's got a goat head here, Raghunath, but his heart
Has changed.
Yeah, he's afflicted by love and affection, and he was awakened. He was awakened to his real senses, not the temporary material senses.
You don't think it was just out of fear?
What?
You think he had a change of heart? I'm
It
curious.
says right here, he's afflicted by love and affection. I'm not speculating on this. I'm just reading it as it is. And then not only that, but it's so profound that it's taking great endeavor to pacify his mind, check his feelings. In other words, he's at the stage where he wants to offer prayers, but he's just, his emotion is like so intense that he's having a hard time just kind of pulling himself together. This is genuine right here.
Okay, I'm just saying it might also be a little bit fearful. Yeah. All right. No, Damodar Priya is holding
there.
up
No,
the
it's not.
Damodar Priya is holding up the picture now of Daksha holding.
I see no pilgrim outfits or buckles. There's about some robes.
Okay, it's not a pilgrim's outfit per se,
Yeah.
but it is a peculiar outfit. It's not like a dhoti and a chadar. He's got like a bathrobe on. Can you see this thing? Oh my God.
It's cool. It's just wearing
I don't know where I got the
robe.
I don't know where I got buckle shoes. In my mind, he was dressed like a pilgrim. I'm sorry. My dear great and powerful Lord Shiva.
You skipped created text 13.
Text 13. My King Daksha said, "My dear Lord Shiva, I committed a great offense against you, but you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you have done me a great favor by punishing me. You and Lord Vishnu, it takes a lot to when you get punished to realize, you know what, I deserve this. It takes some radical responsibility that when you get punished, either by your parents, right, or by the law, or you go to crime, you go to jail, or by material nature, you have some loss. It takes a lot of great radical responsibility to say, you know what, whatever I got, and that is a blessing upon me. That's huge. If I can do that, that's the beginning of that's the dawn of liberation. No longer blaming the world for your shortcomings and losses.
Note that, Mara, note that. No longer blaming the world for your losses and shortcomings is the dawn of liberation.
Where did that come from? I was channeling Lord Vishnu. I don't know where, because most of the time, but that was a wise statement. Read that again.
I already repeated it once. Again. No, that's beautiful.
Literally, sometimes I'm looking at my Instagram thing and it says, read that again. I'm ready to whip my phone at the wall when it says that.
No, but
that's how worked up I get.
I think what you said is I'm really feeling it because it's a fact. It's like, and that's why I don't mean to go back to this, but I'm going back to it. I don't think we should just take this word surrender and throw it out because it actually is a type. It's surrendering one's ego. It's surrendering one's attachments to maintaining their ego. Where you say, you know what, I deserve that. That's on me.
I'm okay with surrender used for material nature. I surrender to material nature, and I'm not stronger. I surrender, but I want to embrace God. Well, that's all. That's all I'm saying. I hiccup once a show. Have you ever noticed that?
We're not concerned about that. Raghunath, your bodily functions are not the topic of our discourse.
Anyway, this is big here. So,
Yeah.
And by the way, he got a goat's head, but the fact that if anything happened, just like Anna told her story of her near-death experience story the other day. If you haven't heard that, check it out. The Walk on Wednesday a couple weeks ago. It went on to take over the whole show, but her pain, her suffering, her loss. I mean, it was like a long list of everything that could go wrong went wrong. And she never had a bitterness that usually goes with loss, pain, and reversals.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a non-clinginess, like on that, like the nugget we read today. It was a non-clinginess to this mortal frame, an acceptance and an appreciation for life. And that's truthfully, I think that's lifetimes of preparation.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lifetime. I think it's lifetimes of preparation.
Well, I think it's possible in a life if if you just engage it the right way, right? But Bhagavatam is powerful, right? Even for a beginner, Prabhupada was saying a couple days ago, right? Even if you're new to this, it's so powerful. It can bring you there. It can deliver you.
Yeah. I just don't think
Yeah.
I'm there in this lifetime.
I think
You know what I
you're
mean?
there, Raghu. No, no.
You know what? I get frustrated very easy.
It doesn't matter though.
Yeah,
In other words,
I need an overhaul. I need some like psychic surgery to go on for me to be peaceful at the time of death. I think I'm going to be bitter and angry and fighting it. One more day. Please, God. Let me finish this verse. Ready?
Finish this verse, yeah.
You and Lord Vishnu never neglect even useless, unqualified brahmanas. Why then should you neglect me, who am engaged in performing yajna? Mm-hmm. My dear and grateful, powerful Lord Shiva, you were created from the mouth of Lord Brahma in order to protect the brahmanas in pursuing education, austerities, vows, and self-realization. As protector of the brahmanas, you always protect the regulative principles they follow, just as a cowherd boy keeps a stick in his hand to give protection to the cows. I did not know your full glories. For this, he has a whole Lord Shiva wake-up call right now.
That's right. Now I'm getting it. Yeah.
Now I get who you are. I did not know your full glories. And for this reason, I threw arrows of sharp words at you in the open assembly. Although you did not take them into account, I was going down to hell because of my disobedience to you, who are the most respectable personality. But you took compassion upon me and saved me by awarding punishment. That is a big realization. Awarding punishment is a gift. You're a savior for doing that. This is a blessing. My pain, my loss, my reversals, the mousetrap I just stepped into, that is my blessing. It's not my bane.
Mousetrap, yes.
Mousetrap of material existence. I'm going for the cheese again and again and again.
Glue trap.
The glue trap of material existence. Love that.
So there's one more sentence to this verse. I request.
Since I cannot satisfy I request that you be pleased by your own mercy. I request that you be pleased by your own mercy, since I cannot satisfy you with my words.
But there's another lesson in this verse. That
Tell
to
me.
He's saying right now, he's frankly admitting, I didn't know who you were, and then I judged you and criticized you, when actually you were a great soul. And if Daksha's capable of, misconstruing Lord Shiva's position so disastrously, so traumatically, how capable are we of doing the same with other great souls?
I mean, yeah. This is our punk rock lesson we learned. Hey, don't judge a book by the cover. Where did we learn that in 10th grade?
I don't know if we learned that in punk rock, but yeah, I think I picked it up a little before. At least I heard it before then. Yeah, but so then how does, again, just like when you hear the thing about death, well, how do you have to live your life so that you can be there? How do we have to live our life so that we know we're not misconstruing people, that we're not, particularly when it comes to like really special souls, that we're not criticizing them or misunderstanding them? And I think the answer is that we have to treat everyone with respect, right? It's like, That's the way you and I know people that move through this world who don't try to relish the quote unquote joys of making fun of people, criticizing people,
Yeah. Taking them down, and sometimes even taking them down for their benefit.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not our position to take people down for their benefit. Leave that up to God.
Yeah, it's like this kind of like the hot mic thing too. Like sometimes people get caught on the hot mic. They're saying
Caught on the hot
something.
mic. Did I ever get caught on the hot mic with Mara?
Oh, if we
that Kaustubha, that Kaustubha. Oh. I'm standing right here, Raghunath.
I can hear it. The mic is on.
The hot mic. That is funny.
But like great souls, they could never get caught on the hot mic because they're never everything that's coming out of their mouth is worthy. We got to try to live like that. I do see people that live like that, and I have to remind myself, I got to be more like that. They're just like, for instance, just the things that we say even casually behind people's backs. It's just like, would we be comfortable saying that to their face? And do we move through the world speaking in such a way where we would be comfortable that it would be heard on the hot mic or broadcast? I think it's called the hot mic test.
The Hare Krishna hot mic.
Okay. Yeah, but would I be embarrassed if other people were hearing what I'm saying right now? Would I be, the great souls, what they're saying, what everything that's coming out of their mouth is like, worthy of the mic.
It was one of the first noticeable thing when I started associating with sadhus.
Yeah.
Was their language and how they spoke. And I was just like, man. And if I clicked into my, especially my early days, if I clicked into my sarcastic, rude, snarky self,
yeah,
usually snarky, the thing in the material circle is met with people are giving it back to you, and the appreciation, a couple chuckles, they throw something else out. Yeah, he is a jerk. Yeah, he does have massive ears, whatever, but my point is, if I was to break out something like that in the company of sadhus, there would just be no response. They wouldn't feed into it. It'd be like a poker face,
including the condescension, like where they put you in your place necessarily too, right? Like,
sure,
that can also be an ego engagement. But just like hey, we don't play that game. It's just kind of like
that's not the game we're playing. Exactly. Yeah. It's
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's raising the bar of how to speak. It's a bit, we tend to think of like, okay, here are the principles we follow, and here are our meditation practices. We don't eat meat, and we don't, right? We're very careful how we speak, and we're very careful what ruminates in our mind.
It's interesting too.
Listen to that again.
Okay, say that again, Raghunath.
We're careful what we speak, and we're careful what ruminates in our mind.
Ruminates. Yes.
Say that again, man.
Okay, we said it twice now. But also, you know what I was just reminded of, and it totally relates to this. I remember one of our first shows, it probably within the first 10 or so, maybe 15 or so. I
got to go back and listen to those first 10 shows. We were like off. We were like out. Remember, I never let you talk. Remember that?
Yeah, just like right now.
I let you talk. I'm much more balanced.
No, but you just cut me off right now. You just cut me off right now. But it's cool. But we switched. We were doing it up in that yoga studio, and then we switched and we did a show, kind of in the dark because the lights are going out, and we were sitting on that platform, by where the
mountains.
No.
Yeah, outside the big yoga studio at the GEV.
No, that's where we did the first ones.
Okay.
And then we switched one day and we went, over to like where the rooms where we were staying, where they have those outside rooms, those rooms with no walls on the top, like on the top of the house that you were staying.
Oh
in.
yeah, I don't remember. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah. And so we had one show then, and the topic came up of like this theme that comes up commonly in Puranas and in Mahabharata and so on, where one of the devas, one of the gods, appears to you in a disguised form.
Oh yeah, and it has sex with a woman.
No, where does your dirty mind. Raghunath.
Oh, it's the story I just read.
Where did that come from?
Just
No.
read that. I swear to God.
Okay, I
my
believe
mind's
you.
not ruminating on that. And David turned into the sage and had sex with his wife.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking
Not
about is
making this up.
sometimes like a deva will appear to someone, and then like for instance, like you have like how about these like Runty Dave, where it was a Runty Dave, he was a great king, and different people were coming to him and requesting charity, and sometimes those people were like a deva in disguise.
Oh,
right?
yes. Right.
And so then the tendency might be to like, come on man, leave me alone or whatever. But
yeah, get out of here. I'm not giving. I got no extra change, but it's
Yeah,
actually God. It's God or
It's one of the
Jesus has come
devas,
to you
yeah.
begging for change, and
Yeah.
you're like, get out of here, Jesus.
okay, so this is where I'm
Right?
trying to go with this. Yeah. And it's funny. I don't know if I mentioned it then, but remember like when we used to do the prikrama, that we'd walk around, do a pilgrimage by circumambulating Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Early in the morning. We'd do that early in the morning when we'd stay in Vrindavan. It would be like dark out, right?
Yeah.
And you'd get to Keshigat, right?
Oh, that gets a little scary there.
Scary
Gets a
in
little
there.
scary.
Yeah, it's dark, and you're going through these it's like these sandstone pathways that you have to pass through.
Well,
And-
squirreling your squirrel right here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, no, this. Oh, are you
Remember that
scrolling my-
story when I
okay.
was walking through that? You go through Keshigat, you're in the banks, and it's real dark out, and you got to go through like a tunnel.
Yeah.
And I'm with Dustin from
Jaya Yoga.
Jai Yoga from Jai Yoga in Albany, and he's like a big tattooed guy coming through this, and a tattoo artist. And he's walking through, and he
Tattoo
grabs
artist.
me,
What is that?
grabs me.
And he's a tattoo artist. Like that.
He's a
doesn't make
tattoo
difference.
artist, big tough tattoo artist,
Okay.
And he grabs me by the arm and just goes, man, I don't know how you feel right now, but right now I'm totally scared out of my mind. It's got this like sort of like scary element as you're going through the tunnel. There's nothing around except a bunch of monkeys sort of sleeping.
Yeah, there's monkeys, and there's that big like if you're not careful, like they don't have railings like in India everywhere like they do in safety railings, right? So like
There's no safety
if
railings
you're not
in
careful,
India.
you drop like 5 feet down to like a hard stone death, Yeah.
All right, so
so in
go
any
on.
case, one
Squirrel, you squirrel.
morning I was alone walking, and I was walking through that area where that drop is, and you never know. There's monkeys. Sometimes there's
You're
like
expecting
a
something to jump out at you, right?
well, sometimes there's like a sadhu in the dark corner wrapped up in a chudder, and they mumble something at you or something like that
Be a
too, right?
great place for a practical joke, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. So any case, one time there's this person that stopped me, and he was, he was an Indian man, and he was like asking me questions. They start with where you're from and this and that. That whole thing.
Indians are so good. They're like, "What is your occupation?" They say, "What is your
It's
father's
like-
occupation?"
right. It's like,
come on,
it's like
I don't even know you.
5
You're asking
a.m.
me my
It's dark
father's
out.
occupation?
Yeah, and he's asking me these questions, and then it was leading to him. Sometimes they're trying to pull you in to be their disciple or their follower or something like that too. Like they got some,
it's
they got some kind of hustle that they got going.
Yeah,
And-
we're
and
New
so to s-
Yorkers. We get hustles. We
Yeah.
understand people trying to work their hustle.
He had a side hustle, and so I didn't want to just blow him off at first, but at a certain point it became clear, okay, this guy's got a side hustle. He's
Right.
whether it was like he was trying to get me to do some astrological reading and pay him for it, or it
I
was
would have
something.
stopped for that. I would be like, "All right, let's see what you
Yeah,
got.
you
Let's see what you
would.
got, sir."
He would have hooked you with that. so at a certain point, the side hustle came on, and and my detector went off, and I was like, okay, enough. I'm going to politely dismiss this, and I have every right to continue my pilgrimage at this point, right?
Right.
And so I said, oh, thank you. And I said, and then he like kind of called to me again as I'm walking away, like with a little bit of desperation in his voice, like trying to keep his hooks.
I
in
want
me.
to read your astrology chart.
Yeah, it was, and then I said, and then I kept going, and then he said, "I may be a deva in disguise," like that. Right?
Oh,
He pulled that. He played the whole deva in disguise card
that's the
on me.
last card you pull out.
Right.
Like, you don't know who I could be.
I could be. And you know, it was yeah. So like he's trying to play on someone's fear, like that. Oh, maybe I'm like disrespecting a deva right now. And my thought was like, I don't think I said it, but I think my thought was maybe I did say it. I don't really remember what I said. Like, you know,
Deva would never say that.
That's right. A deva in disguise. The whole point is they're disguised. They're not gonna, you know, they're testing you, but they're not like, you know, it's only when you satisfy them that they reveal themselves. You know.
Yeah, unless it was a deva in disguise. You might have dropped the ball on that one, Kaustubha.
I might have dropped the ball on that one.
Could have been Lord Brahma.
But in any case, if Daksha were operating with that kind of thought, like Lord Shiva was not only, he wasn't a deva in disguise, he was an actual deva, but because he didn't appear like the common deva, he had the skull necklace and the ashes covering his body and so on. He didn't respect him. And he should have respected. So similarly, we should be respecting every living entity. You know, we shouldn't be blowing people off. We shouldn't be. You know, we may have to sometime move on our pilgrimage. You know, but we should try to honor every living being for their spiritual quality. That namaste. You know, what's inside them. You know, that divine energy is within them, and so we should.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Read that again.
Right.
Okay. Text 16. The great sage Maitreya said, thus being pardoned by Lord Shiva, King Daksha, with the permission of Lord Brahma, again began the performance of the yajna, along with the great learned sages, the priests, and others. So now he's doing the whole thing again, but in a better consciousness, with the head of a goat, a little humbled, and ready to move forward.
And with the blessings of the person that he had offended, like that he buried that by his sincere apologies. Right.
Big point here that sometimes we're on a spiritual trajectory. We're doing good. I always say, whenever you get like some big stone wall in front of you on your path, we should understand this is because we're sincere. If you're going through it right now, and some of you are going through it right now, because I'm getting emails. Some of you guys are going through it right now. I got good news for you. It means you're advancing in spiritual life. Because Lord, your life is getting these stumbling blocks in front of you for opportunities for growth. It sounds sort of cliched, actually, but it's really true. It means Krishna wants us to see how sincere we are, and Maya is not. We're not trying to crush Maya. Maya is a pure goddess doing her service of fulfilling your material desires by creating this illusory world for us. So her job is to keep us in illusion. And we're going to hit these forks. We're going to hit these pitfalls or crevices we have to cross. And it's going to be like, well, what do you want? You want Krishna or you want Maya? You don't have to go further. You can just stay right here. It's not so bad here. Everything's cool here. Or do you say, you know what? Thanks, but I'm crossing the crevice. What do you call it when there's a big
crevasse?
Crevasse.
The cross. A croissant. Cross. What, you know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go anywhere. I'm going to push through this. I'm going to puncture the ceiling. And Maya is always there to skip. You know, there's a better option, man. A little bit more balance. You're getting too fanatical. Maya's always got this better plan for you. And that's where we have to really just push through. Daksha was on a spiritual trajectory. Then all this stuff broke down. And what did he do? He could have just said, you know, screw all this. I'm gonna have a new religion here, or I could just walk away from it.
His head was cut off at that point.
He could get bitter. He could get bitter. He could get bitter and angry. I'll just sit here with my goat head. But instead, he said, you know what? I'm just going to go forward. There's that verse in the 9th chapter of the Gita that says, even abominable activities, we shouldn't judge people, even if a person's on a spiritual path. And due to some preconditioning, they screw up and they do something. What is it? What's the verse, Kaustubha? Even if they do something suduka or suduscritino or something.
I'll look it up.
Right? You know what I'm talking about. Even if you commit the most abominable
activity. Yeah.
Most abominable activities, they're still to be considered a sadhu if and only if they pick themselves up and move forward on their path. And this is what's happening. He offended Lord Shiva, and he has every right to sort of like be like, oh, this, how dare he give me a goat head? He can be bitter, or he can get better. And he just chose, you know what? I'm going to go forward. I'm going to eat this one. I'm going to understand it. I'm going to see a bigger picture. I'm going to zoom out. God's in control, and I'm going to move forward in my spiritual life. And here he is, Daksha, reestablished as a spiritual being.
Yeah. Apichet suduracharo.
Apichet. So a duracharo is like a bad thing.
And I think
Suduracharo is an extremely bad thing.
Intensifier, yeah.
I think like it's important for devotees. Also, we have to realize too, that's a big part of forgiveness and understanding people are on a spiritual path, that we have to learn to forgive. That doesn't necessarily mean if someone does something really, really horrible, they're welcome into the community again. They might have to be ministered outside the community if they're really struggling with some deep issues. But at the same time, people slip up. I've slipped up. How would I feel if people say, you've slipped up? It's over. Your life is, you're outside, you're on the outskirts. We don't want you around. Part of our spiritual life is forgiveness as well. It's a big part of our spiritual life. Forgiveness, to be forgiven. We want to be forgiven, and therefore we have to learn how to forgive.
I like that. But note that down, Meryl.
Say that
Read that again.
Read that again.
We want to be forgiven, therefore we need to forgive. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Prabhupada writes in connection to this in the purport to that text 930, which the text says, even if one commits the most abominable actions, if they are engaged in devotional service, they are to be considered saintly because they are properly situated. So we may have done, once you turn the corner, you turn the corner. So Prabhupada writes, the word suduracharo used in this verse is very significant, and we should understand it properly. Now, this is an interesting sentence here.
Wait,
you ready?
This is in the purport of the Bhagavatam?
No, this is in the
that would have been a Christian miracle. Suduracharo verse. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm thinking just like Prabhupada.
930. So he says the word suduracharo used in this verse is very significant, and we should understand it properly. Now, just this one sentence is very revealing. And he says, when a living entity is conditioned, they have two kinds of activities. One is conditional, and the other is constitutional. Right? We have to understand, am I acting from the conditioned platform or from the constitutional platform at any given moment, right? As for protecting the body or abiding by the rules of society and state, certainly there are different activities, even for the devotees, in connection with conditional life, and such activities are called conditional. I got to take care of my family, I got a certain business, I got certain things that I do that are in relation to my material needs.
What to speak of if you're predisposed with things like anxiety, fear, lack. Some people are that's their programming carried on from childhood or previous lives. That's their, what do you call it? Prabhupada call it an external conditioning, predisposition. What do you call it?
Predisposition, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he says, besides these, the living entity who is fully conscious of their spiritual nature is engaged in Krishna consciousness or the devotional service of the Lord, has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in their constitutional position, and they are technically called devotional service. Now, in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditional service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. He says some of our duties in life are consistent with our devotional nature, and sometimes they seem to be opposed to it. But then again, as far as possible, a devotee is very cautious so that they do not do anything that could disrupt their wholesome condition. They know that perfection in their activities depends on their progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically. But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify them. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down but is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord being situated within their heart beautifies them and excuses them from the abomination. The material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. This is anti-cancel culture here, right? It's
anti-cancel culture. It's like, you know what? It's like a whole cancel culture, but the opposite. Right. Give them a chance. Give them a second chance. Give them some love. Give them some support. Boost them up. Don't try to drag them down.
Let's not try to find one thing someone's done wrong, even in the past, and destroy them for it.
Amplify. Well, he did this 20 years ago. I got a photo of him.
All right.
It's like,
Okay,
come on, people.
So Prabhupada writes, therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. He says, the material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path. For as it is explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course as soon as a devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness.
You know, these verses, these purports, I can say for myself, they blossom year after year after year in a different, more fragrant way, a more beautiful way. Like I've read this verse and purport many, many times. Like it just hit in a new, different light today. These books, it's not, you never finish this book.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
You never finish this book. It's
Note that,
always evolving. It's alive. Krishna's real.
Alive.
All this stuff is real.
It's
not
alive.
a book. It's not for your summer reading list. You'll go back to this you'll never finish this. You'll always just come back to it and come back to it. I've never read this verse 1,000 times. It means something so much different to me today. Thank you, Kaustubha.
This book is alive.
This book is alive.
I think that may be the title of today's show. This book is alive. It's
This
going to
book
speak
is
to us.
alive.
It
Sounds a little too Christian.
I thought it reminded me of the Ramones live album, right? It was called It's Alive, like from a horror film or something like that. It's alive. It's alive. The book is alive. But it is alive. You know, and it reminds me of one story. You know, Pragosh Das?
Yeah.
He was once with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada was speaking about the Krishna book, which you tell your Krishna stories from, Sweet Baby Krishna. Yeah. Which is the 10th canto.
I use a few books, but yes.
Okay, a little Garga Samhita.
Mm-hmm.
But he was talking about, Prabhupada was talking about Krishna book. You really had to think about this. You know, if you have faith in Srila Prabhupada and who he is and what he's doing and in these books, it means a lot. He said to him, and that book was, you know, the original edition of that book was big and in that silver cover and everything like that. A big, beautiful book.
George Harrison paid for that, you know?
He paid for it and he wrote the introduction.
Yeah.
And so
did you hear how that happened? He needed the money to print this book. I'm going to squirrel this one. It's a good story. He needed the money to print this book. And so Prabhupada asked Shama Sundar, who knew George Harrison, look, we need 10,000 pounds to pay for this book. Can you do it? Can you ask George to pay? And Shama Sundar was like, I'm friends with George. I don't want to ask him for the money. It's like really embarrassing. And he's like, Prabhupada, just do it. And she was like, oh man, I got to ask George Harrison. This is so embarrassing. And so
what I said I would never do, right, is ask him.
I said I would never do this and ruin a friendship. I said, hey, George, Prabhupada asked me to ask you can you pay for this? And you could tell George was a little like, oh, it's a weird breach of friendship here between us.
There's a real silence there. And he could just see in his mind, he's like, you know, imagining all the things he's thinking, oh, they're just trying to take advantage of me. You know, like there's that very awkward silence.
And then there was a lightning bolt or a thunderbolt. And it was like very obvious, like, yes, of course I'll do it.
No, what happened was there was a thunderbolt and the lights went out.
Oh, I missed that part of it.
Yeah, the lights went out for a couple seconds and then the lights came back on and then they just looked at each other and George had a big smile on his face like, okay, no problem. like that was, if I needed a sign, I just got it.
Krishna must have been like, Indra, now. Ready? Now. Hit it. It's like conducting.
All right, Mara, do we have any takeaways for today?
Yeah. Did you ever do that? Where you just said, if there is a God, show me something crazy. And all of a sudden something crazy happened. Ever do that?
I think I have, yeah, but none come to mind immediately.
All right, it's real. This stuff is all real. Mm-hmm. All right, Mara's got a whole treasure trove of after-show nuggets. Takeaways, we call them.
You need to understand death to know how to live.
Yeah, yes.
Die like a hero going home. What will it take in our life to die nobly?
Read that again.
What will it take in our life to die nobly? Our meditation.
You don't like that one.
I'm sorry.
Our meditation is practice for time of death. No longer blaming the world for your shortcomings is the dawn of liberation.
There you go,
That's
Raghunath.
a T-shirt, man.
The
That is
dawn
a
of
t-shirt.
liberation.
Let's get
from-
Parmananda on that. He can make that into a cool design.
Surrender your ego and accept radical responsibility.
Yeah.
My pain, my reversals, my glue trap are my blessings.
Thank you, Glue Trap.
are my blessings.
Glue Trap. We're Glue Trap. Glue
one
Trap.
works.
That's a name for a
Yeah.
band, man. Glue Trap from the Bronx.
The stumbling blocks are tests of our sincerity.
We're stumbling blocks.
Glue
Giving and
trap
asking-
would blow them off the stage.
We're opening for Glue Trap, man. We got a good gig here.
Giving and asking forgiveness is part of our spiritual path.
Okay.
Does my speech pass the hot mic test?
We're hot, Mike.
Burning is learning.
Burning
And
is
don't
learning.
squirrel my squirrel.
Ooh, don't squirrel my
Don't
squirrel.
squirrel my squirrel, Kaustubha.
By the way, my squirrel got squirreled, and I never told the story about Pragosh in the Krishna book and what Prabhupada said about it. We'll get to
Oh,
that
yeah. All right. We got it. Wait.
tomorrow. That's a cliffhanger.
right.
It's a cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. All right. I squirreled your squirrel. Don't squirrel my squirrel. Oh, my God. I shouldn't be this jovial this early in the morning. I'm really tired. I woke up at 3:30 this morning to do my puja because for our tubing adventure. You know, there's billions of miserable things that could happen today, so I'm not going to get too excited. That's how I have to live one
Oh, yeah.
moment at a time.
Tomorrow at 6, correct?
We're back at 6 Zoomies. We only had 67 Zoomers today.
That's
because
squirrel
we-
level 3. Someone just showed to me. That's
we
we gotta
switched.
start having squirrel levels, Raghunath. Now.
The age
Squirrel-
levels is squirrel
Squirrel
level.
level 3.
Where's the holder, Raghunath? That you just took us to squirrel level 4 right now.
Squirrel, my squirrel, my squirrel.
That's a good one.